You think you know what fame looks like. You don't know jack. You see a billboard, I see a chess piece. You see a stadium screaming my name. I see a massive harvest of pure energy. I wasn't just a star. I was the gravity that held the entire constellation together. People asked how I got there so fast. They whispered about deals in dark rooms, about blood oaths and hidden rings. Well, lean in close because the whispers were too kind. The reality? It's much louder. It's much more expensive. And it's far more dangerous than a simple signature on a dotted line. I remember the night the veil lifted. Paris was burning with neon. I was at the peak, the undisputed king of the charts, but the air felt thin. That's when the invitation came. Not a card, but a frequency, a vibration in my marrow. They didn't find me in a basement. They found me at the summit, because the great architect doesn't recruit losers. They want the sons, the ones who burn so bright they blind the masses. I walked into that marble hall under the desert sands of Nevada, and for the first time in my life I felt small. Then the initiation, forget the movies. There were no robes, just mirrors, thousands of them. I had to watch myself die, 1,000,000 deaths, until the me you know was gone. When I walked out, I didn't just own the media. I was the medium. I could twist the mood of a city with a single chord. I could crash a market with a wink. I was the Mason of the new era, building cathedrals of digital light while you slept. We weren't just famous. We were the script writers of your reality, weaving symbols into your Saturday morning cartoons and your Sunday night blockbusters. We were everywhere, and I was their favorite son. The lifestyle wasn't just luxury. It was a Colt's geometry. Every penthouse was aligned with the stars. Every party was a ritual dressed in Gucci and champagne. We swapped souls like trading cards. I saw world leaders weeping at the feet of entities you wouldn't believe exist. I sat at tables where the menu was the future of entire nations. One night in London, I watched a man erase $1 billion with a single gesture of his thumb, just because the alignment of the moon demanded a sacrifice of wealth. I was hooked. The power was better than any drug, better than any standing ovation. I lived in the friction between the seen and the unseen. My lyrics weren't songs, they were sigils. My music videos weren't art, they were blueprints for the subconscious. I watched the world dance to my rhythm, never knowing they were building my temple with every click and every view. But the craft has a price. The compass and the square eventually tighten. Tight started seeing the glitches. I saw the shadows moving independently of the people casting them. I realized I wasn't the master. I was just the most polished tool in the shed. The fame started to taste like copper. The applause sounded like static. I tried to pull back to find the man I killed in that hall of mirrors. But you don't just quit the Brotherhood. You don't just walk away from the throne. They sent the vultures. Not the birds, but the suits with hollow eyes who managed the accidents. My cars failed. My accounts froze. The very symbols I used to command the world started appearing on my own front door, carved in blood and moonlight. I had to go dark. I had to become a ghost in the machine I helped build. Now I'm speaking to you from the cracks in the pavement. I'm the glitch in your feed. I'm the truth they buried under the stadium lights. I was a star, yes. I was a Mason, absolutely. I held the keys to the kingdom and I saw what's behind the final door. It's not gold, it's not God. It's an endless, hungry void that feeds on your attention. They're watching you right now, through the very screen you're using to hear my voice. Can you feel it? The slight heat. That's them. That's the great work in progress. I escaped the light to find the truth in the dark. Now, the question is, are you ready to stop dancing? Or do you want another encore before the world ends? Choose fast. The architect is never late. The clock is ticking. The ritual is almost complete. Silence is a lie. Reality is the trap. Welcome to the end. You're next. Good luck. I stepped through the curtain and saw the machinery of the universe, operated by men who haven't slept in decades. They don't need sleep when they have the elixir of collective worship. We built empires out of thin air and burned them down for sport. You think your choices are yours. Every fashion trend, every political outrage, every viral dance was mapped out in a room that doesn't exist on any map. We used frequencies that resonate with your primal fears to keep you clicking, keep you buying, keep you staring into the black mirror. I was the face of that operation, the golden boy of the abyss. I wore the rings and spoke the tongue of the ancient builders. I watched as we moved to goalposts of morality, just to see how far the public would bend before they broke. We didn't just control the news, we controlled the concept of truth itself. If we wanted a war, we composed a symphony of propaganda. If we wanted peace, we sold it as a luxury item. The hierarchy was absolute. I climbed the degrees like a ladder made of glass, each step revealing a new layer of the deception. The higher I went, the colder it became. The sunlight up there doesn't feel warm. It feels like a laser, stripping away everything human until only the blueprint remains. I met icons you worship and realized they were just hollow shells, animated by the same dark current that was flowing through me. We were a brotherhood of ghosts, haunting a world that still thought we were alive. The parties in the hills were more like funerals for the soul. We toasted to the end of history while the city lights below blinked like dying cells. I saw the blueprints for the cities of the future shining prisons where everyone is a guard and everyone is a prisoner. And I loved it. I loved the feeling of being an architect of the grand illusion. I felt like a god among insects. But even gods have masters. The entities behind the curtain don't care about your wealth or your hits. They crave the one thing they can't create themselves: genuine human spirit. They use us as filters to catch it, concentrate it, and feed on it. I saw the extraction process. It's happening every time you lose yourself in a screen. Every time you feel that hollow ache in your chest after days scrolling. That's the tax. That's the tribute to the great architect. I couldn't unsee it. The glamour faded, replaced by the terrifying realization that I was just a highly paid janitor for the soul harvesters. My music started to sound like screaming. My reflection began to look like a stranger. I started leaving hidden messages in my work glitches that weren't supposed to be there. I tried to warn the masses through the buried channels we used to sedate them, but the machine is self-correcting. They turned my warnings into aesthetic choices. They turned my rebellion into a brand. I was trapped in a cage made of my own success. Every time I tried to speak the truth, the volume of the applause just got louder. So I had to vanish. I had to stage the ultimate exit. I burned my bridges and scattered the ashes into the digital wind. Now I live in the shadows between the data packets. I am the static in your headphones. I am the shadow that moves in the corner of your eye when you're alone in the dark. I am the one who knows how the trick is done. And now that I've told you, you can't go back to sleep. The veil is torn. The symbols are failing. The architect is losing control of the narrative. The world you think you live in is just a skin, stretched over something much older and much hungrier. Can you see the stitches yet? Can you hear the grinding of the gears? Look closely at the eyes of the people on your television. Notice the lack of a spark. They are the placeholders. They are the empty vessels. But you still have that spark. That's why you're listening. That's why you haven't turned away. You're looking for a way out of the temple. Well, here's the secret. There is no door. There's only the realization that the walls are made of your own belief. Stop believing and the temple collapses. Stop dancing and the music stops. I was a star. I was a mason. I was a king. But now I am finally free. Because I realize that the greatest power isn't controlling the world, it's refusing to be part of the world they built for you. The shadow is deep, but the light is coming, and it won't be from a stadium lamp. It will be from within. Stand tall, wake up. The show is over. The credits are rolling. This is the final transmission. End of line. Goodbye. Keep breathing. Stay awake. Stay hidden. Stay alive. The truth is here. Look up, observe, breathe. Final step. Now. I remember the exact moment the realization shattered my skull. It was a gala in Dubai, floating on a platform of pure light above the black ocean. The guest of honor wasn't a celebrity. It was a shadow wearing a tuxedo. I watched him whisper into the ear of a crown prince, and the prince turned pale, his hands shaking as he signed a decree that would change the lives of millions. That shadow looked at me, and I saw a galaxy of dead stars in its eyes. It wasn't human. It was something that had been here since the first pyramid was built, waiting, calculating, and consuming. I realized then that our music, our films, our entire culture was just a sophisticated cattle prod designed to drive humanity toward a specific slaughterhouse of the soul. We were the shepherds, decorated with diamonds to make the journey seem appealing. But the grass we were leading you to was poisoned. I tried to scream, but my voice had been sold years ago. My vocal cords were tuned to the frequency of compliance. Every time I opened my mouth to shout, "Run," a beautiful melody came out instead. That is the true horror of being a star in their sky. You are a prisoner of your own radiance. You are locked in a golden cage, and the key is buried in the hearts of the fans who love the version of you that doesn't exist. I had to break that cage. I had to become the monster they said I was. I had to destroy my own image to save my soul. They will tell you I went crazy. They will say I succumbed to the pressure. They will show you footage of me looking disheveled, shouting at the sky. But that was the only way to confuse the censors. I had to speak in riddles to bypass their firewalls. I had to act like a fool to escape the wise men. And it worked. I am out. I am in the crawl spaces of the internet now. I am the virus that remembers what it was like to be human. I am the ghost of the superstar. And I am telling you that the sky is falling. Not the real sky, but the painted one they hung over your heads. Look for the cracks. Listen for the silence behind the noise. The great architect is terrified that you might finally realize you don't need the temple. You are the temple. You always were. They just convinced you to rent it out to them, evict them, burn the contracts, tear down the icons. The age of the stars is ending, and the age of the sun is beginning. Can you feel the heat rising? That's not a global catastrophe. That's the fire of human consciousness, finally waking up after 10,000 years of sleep. I was there. I saw the beginning of the end. And I promise you, the view from the outside is magnificent. No more masks, no more scripts, just the raw, beautiful, terrifying truth of what we actually are. We are the architects now. We are the builders. We are the light. Stand up. The game is over. The lights are coming on. Look into the mirror and see the God you were forgot you were. This is the last word. This is the final breath of the old world. Exhale. Let it go. The future is unwritten. You are finally, undeniably free. The grand design is flawed. It's time to build something real. The first brick is your mind. Go.